Okay, we're here to talk about the bans and their suspensions, I guess, that they've done in a couple formats. Pretty big bannings today. Standard, they decided with 2 months left after all the big tournaments, they're like, okay, you know what, we'll let them have some fun now. No more like 50% of the metagame is the same deck. I guess we'll change it up a little bit, give these standard people something they want. They made 4 very big bannings. We got Wilderness Reclamation, Growth Spiral, Teferi Time Raveler, and the one that I did not suspect at all, Cauldron Familiar. Makes sense, Teferi, people they were saying it was just to keep Wilderness Reclamation in check. Every ramp deck was good, so they banned the Explorer effect and Growth Spiral, and Cauldron Familiar. Little less making sense, but my guess is the action to make it so Rakdos and Jund Sacrifice isn't the end-all be-all, because aggro decks can't beat that deck basically at all. So this is some way to nerf it. Oh yes, we got a follow in Komaton. And cards in my PT Finals deck no longer legal. Yeah, a lot of PT decks. Basically, Standard is just different now. It's completely different. We're probably just going to be in Uro Hell still, but there's a chance that that's not the case, and some other aggro decks like Mono Red, Winota, some other things going on. We'll see if there's another boogeyman to come up from all this, but even if there is, in 2 months, we're switching the whole format anyway with a rotation. But now we can see if there's something interesting that happens in Standard in the next month to 2 months. So hopefully some people will believe in the cleave, as they say. Some people will Winota combo people. There'll probably be Bant still around. Maybe there's some other decks laying around that people don't know about, Mono White, some other things. But we'll have to see what comes about with all of the new changes in Standard. It's not particularly my format, so I can't tell you what decks are going to be on top now. But things are going to be changing, and if you like Arena, if you like, MTGO laggy Standard, it's up to you now. New things to be playing. Now let's move on to the format I know a little bit about, which is Pioneer. Now I like 3 out of 4 of the bans here, and the 4th ban is medium to say the least. The bans I like: Inverter, Underworld Breach, and Kethis. All of these decks, horrid to play against. I know a lot of people like playing them. I know a lot of people said Pioneer is the combo format, and I know basically all the decks didn't have an actual problem in win rate. But because I did not like playing against these decks, I was even foregoing the Pioneer challenges. I was foregoing the Pioneer preliminaries, both of which were pretty good value to play, and I definitely wasn't playing any Pioneer leagues. So this will potentially get me back to Pioneer, given there's a deck that I like that emerges from it. If there is, I'll be very happy. Inverter, Kethis, Underworld Breach, insane combo decks that were somewhat hard to interact with at times. And now we've got Walking Ballista, which sadly nerfs my favorite Pioneer deck, which is Mono White Devotion. Ballista was kind of necessary in the sense that it gave you another element to attack from. You already had some pretty bad matchups that were natural predators for the deck and control decks along with the Fires decks, and you were definitely bad against Underworld Breach and Inverter of Truth now with the new additions of new formats. I'm surprised they banned Ballista and not Heliod, because Heliod, while good in the Mono White deck, it essentially is in no other decks, whereas Ballista was in multiple decks: Mono Green Devotion, the Mono Green Planeswalker deck, it was in Hardened Scales, it was in Mono White Devotion, sometimes saw play in Soul Artifact decks, and along with some other random decks like Sultai, Delirium, you'd sometimes see one of Ballista. But it's weird to see Ballista go, because it did do some, I think, healthy things for the format in some synergy-based decks, while the synergy was too powerful potentially in the Mono White deck for the format moving forward. I would have liked to see just Heliod banned, because I think the Mono White deck basically can't continue in its form now without Ballista giving itself a combo finish, because the mid-range aspect, while it's fine, is not going to be nearly as good as some of the mid-range decks that are going to emerge, like the Fires of Invention deck, Sultai Delirium with Uro, which potentially can become a new problem, as Uro has become problems in basically every format as well. And Ballista is possibly would have been too good in some other decks like the Green Devotion decks, but I'm skeptical about that. I don't think they were that insane in those decks. But I'm assuming from what they said in the announcement that they wanted to stop a lot of the combo decks in Pioneer, and people weren't having fun playing against them. Ballista is another combo card. So my guess is that they don't want to have to deal with it potentially being too big of a problem in the future with some of the other decks that get to play Ballista, and we're just, okay, let's just axe Ballista and not have to deal with any combos it can be in, as well as, the potential problems it can lead in the future. Well, I don't think that's great. I think it's like fine-ish, it's whatever. But hopefully Pioneer becomes like playable and fun and, something that I will start playing in the future and get some more videos and content out about, and hopefully you guys will like watching that as well. Finally, the other ban that was pretty big was Historic, like a Suspensions and Wilderness Reclamation and Teferi. Turns out Wilderness Reclamation, really good in Standard, also really good in Historic. There was a big open of the decks there's a big open for like the $2,000 on Arena. Of the decks that went and got the 2,000, I think over close to half of them, if not over half of them, were Wilderness Reclamation decks. So, pretty bad. Also, Teferi Time Raveler, it seems like people just don't like playing against that card. I'm one of those people. It usually doesn't lead to play patterns that are enjoyable. So while I don't think necessarily it is too good on a power level scale, I think it is too good on the making myself not have fun scale, and I'm more than fine getting rid of that. Brawl, meme format, probably good. Teferi's gone, another not very fun card if you're just trying to have fun. I'm fine getting rid of that. Every format where Teferi's gone, I'll be Modern, it's not, I don't think it's too good there. I'd like it gone. Legacy, screw it. Vintage, whatever, it doesn't see that much play. But the idea is that there's certain cards that don't really provide much like fun in Magic, and they're really not interactive in the way that basically your opponent can't interact with you in certain ways, which Teferi stops that from happening. So I'm fine with it leaving. Yeah, that was basically my thoughts on the bannings. Hopefully, if you guys have any thoughts and like the bannings, didn't like the bannings, whatever, make sure to give a comment below or talk to me about it at some point. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it a lot. Make sure to subscribe and follow. They'll be in the descriptions below, my Twitch and Twitter. Make sure to follow those as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.